Christmas is just around the corner, and I bet you're already feeling that festive spirit. The twinkling lights, the smell of pine trees, the mad dash for presents. It's a magical time of year, but have you ever stopped to wonder where all these traditions came from? Why do we decorate trees? Who came up with Santa Claus? And why December 25th? Well, today, we're unwrapping the incredible and surprisingly complex history of Christmas. It's a story that's much older and more fascinating than you might think, full of pagan festivals, Roman emperors, and Victorian inventions. So grab a cup of hot cocoa, get comfy, and let's travel back in time to discover the true story behind our favorite holiday. To find the roots of Christmas, we need to go way back, long before the first Christmas carol was ever sung. For ancient cultures in the Northern Hemisphere, the darkest part of the year wasn't a time for gloom, but for a massive party. Why? Because the winter solstice, around December 21st, marked the turning point. After the longest night, the days would start getting longer again. It was a promise that spring and sunlight were on their way back. In ancient Rome, this was the time for Saturnalia, a wild, week-long festival honoring Saturn, the god of agriculture. From December 17th to the 23rd, all business and school stopped. Social norms were turned upside down, slaves were served by their masters, and a lord of misrule was chosen to preside over the chaos. There was feasting, drinking, gambling, and gift-giving, often small tokens like candles or clay figurines. It was the biggest party of the year, a time of pure joy and abandon. Meanwhile, in Northern Europe, Germanic and Norse peoples celebrated a festival called Yule. This also took place around the winter solstice. To honor their gods, like Odin, and to celebrate the return of the sun, they would burn massive logs, known as Yule logs, for up to 12 days. They'd feast on the meat of a slaughtered boar, drink ale, and decorate their homes with evergreen boughs, like holly and ivy. These evergreens were powerful symbols of life, reminding them that even in the dead of winter, nature would survive and thrive again. So, you can see a pattern here: feasts, lights, gifts, and greenery. These were all central to pre-Christian winter celebrations. But how did these traditions get wrapped up in the story of Jesus' birth? Well, here's a fun fact. The Bible doesn't actually specify the date of Jesus' birth. There are clues, like shepherds watching their flocks at night, which some scholars say suggests a springtime birth. So why December 25th? For the first few centuries of Christianity, Jesus' birth wasn't even a major holiday. Easter was the big one. It wasn't until the 4th century that the Church, under Pope Julius I, officially declared December 25th as the date for Christmas. Now, the exact reason for this choice is debated by historians, but the most popular theory is a brilliant piece of marketing. The early Church was trying to convert pagans to Christianity. Instead of trying to stamp out their deeply rooted, beloved winter festivals like Saturnalia, they decided to co-opt them. By placing Christmas right in the middle of these pagan celebrations, they made the transition to the new religion much smoother. It was a classic if you can't beat 'em, join 'em strategy. They basically said, hey, you already have a massive party this time of year to celebrate light and rebirth, great. We have the perfect reason for it, the birth of Jesus, the light of the world. Over the next few centuries, Christmas slowly spread across Europe. As missionaries traveled, they blended Christian teachings with local pagan customs. For example, the Yule log and the festive greenery were absorbed into Christmas celebrations. The tradition of caroling also has roots in this period, though early carols were more like communal folk songs than the religious hymns we know today. By the Middle Ages, Christmas had become a major, albeit rowdy, 12-day festival of feasting and merrymaking, very much in the spirit of Saturnalia. But then, things took a turn. In the 17th century, a wave of religious reform swept through Europe and America. Puritans, in particular, viewed the wild celebrations of Christmas as unchristian and pagan. They were all about solemn, pious worship, and they hated the drinking, feasting, and general chaos. In England under Oliver Cromwell, and in the Puritan colonies of America, celebrating Christmas was actually banned. Can you imagine? Fines were issued to anyone caught feasting or even taking the day off work. For about 200 years, Christmas went underground in many places. So how did Christmas make its big comeback and become the family-focused holiday we know today? For that, we can thank the Victorians, and especially one very famous author and one very influential royal family. In the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution was changing society. There was a growing nostalgia for the good old days and a new focus on the family and children. Enter Charles Dickens. In 1843, he published A Christmas Carol. This book wasn't just a great story. It was a cultural phenomenon. It completely reshaped the popular imagination of what Christmas should be. It emphasized family, charity, goodwill, and festive spirit. The story of Scrooge's transformation promoted the idea of Christmas as a time for kindness and generosity, a message that resonated deeply with the public. Around the same time, a new trend crossed the English Channel from Germany, thanks to Queen Victoria and her German-born husband, Prince Albert. In 1848, a London newspaper published an illustration of the royal family standing around a decorated evergreen tree at Windsor Castle. The German tradition of bringing a fir tree indoors and decorating it with candles and sweets was already popular there, but this image made it instantly fashionable in Britain and America. Suddenly, everyone wanted a Christmas tree. The Victorians didn't stop there. They basically invented the modern Christmas. The first commercially produced Christmas cards appeared in London in the 1840s. The tradition of singing carols door-to-door was revived and became a respectable family activity. Even the idea of a big Christmas dinner, with turkey or goose as the centerpiece, was cemented during this era, again, heavily influenced by Dickens's descriptions of the Cratchit family feast. But what about the big man himself, Santa Claus? His story is a wonderful mashup of different legends. The original figure was Saint Nicholas, a 4th-century Christian bishop from a region in modern-day Turkey. He was known for his incredible generosity, especially for secretly leaving gifts for the poor. One famous story tells of him dropping bags of gold down the chimney for 3 poor sisters, which landed in their stockings that were drying by the fire. Sound familiar? The legend of Saint Nicholas spread throughout Europe. In the Netherlands, he was known as Sinterklaas. He was depicted as a tall, stately bishop who rode a white horse and left gifts for good children in their wooden shoes. Dutch colonists brought this tradition with them to America in the 17th century, but the Sinterklaas figure was still a far cry from the jolly, red-suited man we know today. The modern image of Santa Claus was largely created in 19th century New York. First, in 1823, an anonymous poem called A Visit from St. Nicholas, which you probably know as "Tea Was the Night Before Christmas," was published. This poem gave us so many iconic details. Santa is a jolly old elf, his sleigh pulled by 8 tiny reindeer with all their names, and his magical entry down the chimney. Then, from the 1860s to the 1880s, a political cartoonist named Thomas Nast drew a series of illustrations for Harper's Weekly magazine. Building on the poem, Nast was the first to draw Santa as a big, round, cheerful man with a white beard, living at the North Pole and keeping a workshop full of elves. He also gave him his famous red suit, though sometimes he drew it in tan. The final touch in cementing Santa's image came in the 1930s. The Coca-Cola company started using Santa in their winter advertising campaigns. An artist named Haddon Sundblom was hired to create a wholesome, friendly Santa. His paintings of a warm, rosy-cheeked, and jolly Santa Claus enjoying a Coke became incredibly popular. These ads were everywhere in magazines, on billboards, and they standardized the image of Santa in the public consciousness around the world. So, while Coca-Cola didn't invent the red suit, their massive marketing campaigns certainly made it the official uniform. And there you have it. The history of Christmas is a rich tapestry woven from ancient pagan rites, Christian reinterpretation, Victorian sentimentality, and a healthy dose of modern commercialism. From the raucous parties of Saturnalia to Queen Victoria's Christmas tree and Coca-Cola's Santa Claus, every tradition we cherish has a story. It's a holiday that has constantly evolved, adapting and absorbing new ideas over thousands of years. So this year, as you're hanging ornaments on your tree or leaving out cookies for Santa, you'll know you're taking part in traditions that connect us to ancient Romans, medieval Europeans, and nostalgic Victorians. It's a beautiful reminder that while the world changes, the desire to come together in the darkest part of the year to share light, warmth, and joy is a timeless human impulse. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this journey through Christmas history as fascinating as I do. What's your favorite Christmas tradition? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Wishing you all a very merry and historically Christmas from Flourish Inspired. The religious origin of Christmas is centered entirely on Christian theology, specifically the celebration of the Nativity, or the birth of Jesus Christ. Central religious purpose. The foundational religious purpose of Christmas is to commemorate the Incarnation, the core Christian belief that God became flesh human in the person of Jesus Christ. Christ's Mass. The name Christmas itself is a shortened form of Christ's Mass, indicating its fundamental nature as a liturgical service dedicated to Christ. The Nativity. The celebration focuses on the events described in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, the Annunciation to the shepherds, the journey of Mary and Joseph to Bethlehem, and the birth of Jesus in a stable. Theological significance. The holiday marks the beginning of the story of salvation, as the birth of Jesus is viewed as the fulfillment of prophecies and the arrival of the Redeemer promised in the Old Testament. The religious choice of December 25th. While the date is not historically accurate, scholars suggest Jesus was likely born in the spring or fall. Its choice was driven by religious and theological intent in the 4th century AD. The light of the world. The early church strategically placed the birth of Jesus, who is described as the light of the world, near the winter solstice. This allowed them to reinterpret the pagan celebration of the returning literal sun as the arrival of the spiritual Son of God. Theological calculation. The date was often chosen based on the calculation that Jesus was conceived on March 25, the date of the Annunciation, and believed by some early Christians to be the date of his death, placing his birth 9 months later on December 25. This ensured theological symmetry in the Holy Calendar. In summary, the holiday's religious origin is singular, the recognition and worship of the divine birth of Jesus Christ, which was then strategically placed on the calendar to integrate with existing popular winter festivals. The meaning of Christmas is multifaceted, drawing from its primary religious significance as well as its rich cultural and historical traditions. Religious meaning. For the world's Christians, the essential meaning of Christmas is the commemoration of the birth of Jesus Christ, the central figure of Christianity. The Incarnation. The holiday celebrates the theological belief in the Incarnation, that God took human form as Jesus. This event marks the beginning of the Christian narrative of salvation and is viewed as the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. Christ's Mass. The very name Christmas is derived from the Old English Kirkstys mix, meaning Christ's Mass, signifying its origin as a sacred service dedicated to Christ. The Nativity. The celebration focuses on the Nativity narrative, emphasizing the humility, peace, and hope brought by the Christ child, often symbolized by the manger scene. Cultural and secular meaning. Beyond its religious foundation, Christmas has evolved into a widespread cultural holiday embodying several universal human values. Family and fellowship. It is a prime time for family gatherings and strengthening bonds with loved ones. The holiday promotes peace, goodwill, and reconciliation. Generosity and charity. The tradition of gift-giving is a major cultural component, symbolizing the gifts given to the infant Jesus by the Magi and encouraging generosity toward those in need. The stories of figures like Santa Claus further emphasize acts of kindness and benevolence. Hope and light. Historically, the celebration's timing near the winter solstice, the darkest time of the year, ties into themes of hope and light triumphing over darkness and cold. Customs like lighting candles and decorating with evergreens symbolize enduring life and the promise of renewal. In short, the meaning of Christmas is a powerful synthesis. It is a Christian holy day celebrating the birth of Jesus, wrapped in centuries of cultural traditions emphasizing family, peace, and generosity. The traditional meaning of Christmas is primarily rooted in its religious origin as a commemoration of the birth of Jesus Christ, while also encompassing the profound cultural and spiritual values that have been celebrated in midwinter for millennia. Did you know Christmas has some seriously ancient Roman roots? Before it was about Santa and reindeer, the Romans celebrated a wild festival called Saturnalia right around the same time, from December 17th to the 23rd. It was a week-long party honoring Saturn, the god of agriculture. Think massive feasts, gift-giving, and a total social switch-up where masters served their slaves. It was all about bringing light and hope during the darkest time of the year, the winter solstice. As Christianity spread, it cleverly merged these beloved traditions. The date December 25th was chosen to coincide with the Roman festival of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. So, when you're decorating your tree or exchanging gifts, you're actually taking part in a tradition that's thousands of years old. Pretty cool, right? If you enjoyed this little piece of history, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. The primary religious meaning. The most central and traditional meaning of Christmas is the celebration of the Nativity of Jesus Christ. The Incarnation. Christmas marks the Christian belief in the Incarnation, meaning that God took human form as Jesus. This event is viewed as the beginning of the Christian story of salvation and the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. The holiday is fundamentally a Christ's Mass, a liturgical service dedicated to Christ. Hope and redemption. The birth of Jesus is traditionally seen as bringing hope, light, and redemption to the world. It emphasizes the humility of God born in a simple manger and the promise of peace on earth. Cultural and spiritual meaning. Beyond the Nativity, the traditional meaning is deeply influenced by the timing of the holiday near the winter solstice, the darkest day of the year. Triumph of light. The customs absorbed from ancient pagan festivals like Yule and Saturnalia traditionally symbolize the victory of light over darkness and life over death during the harshest part of the year. This is reflected in the use of evergreens, a symbol of life enduring winter, and lights, candles, fires, and decorations. Generosity and goodwill. The tradition of gift-giving is directly linked to the gifts brought to Jesus by the Magi, while the broader spirit of the holiday emphasizes charity, kindness, and goodwill toward all people. This meaning was powerfully reinforced by 19th-century literature like Dickens's A Christmas Carol. Family and fellowship. Historically, Christmas evolved from a rowdy community feast into a holiday centered on domestic warmth and family togetherness, fostering strong bonds and fellowship. The history of Christmas is a fascinating blend of Christian religious observance and the strategic adoption of popular Roman pagan traditions within the Roman Empire. The history of Christmas. Christmas originated in the 4th century AD in Rome as a formal Christian holiday celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, the Nativity. The lack of a historical date. The Christian religious texts, the Gospels, do not specify the date of Jesus' birth. For the first few centuries of Christianity, the resurrection, Easter, was considered the most important holy day. The formalization on December 25th, the earliest known record of Christmas being celebrated on December 25th, comes from the chronograph of 354 AD, specifically the Philocalian calendar in Rome. This date was chosen for two main reasons. Theological calculation. Early Christian scholars argued that Jesus was conceived on March 25th, the date of the Annunciation, and traditionally believed to be the date of his death. Counting 9 months forward yields December 25th as the birth date. Strategic alignment. The date coincided perfectly with major pagan festivals in the Roman calendar, allowing the Christian faith, which was gaining prominence after the legalization under Emperor Constantine, to ease the transition for new converts. The Roman roots of Christmas. The most direct and significant historical roots of Christmas stem from two prominent Roman midwinter festivals that were either adapted or replaced by the Christian celebration. Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, birthday of the unconquered sun. This Roman imperial festival, celebrated on December 25th, honored the sun god, Sol Invictus. The connection. Since Jesus is often referred to in Christian scripture as the light of the world, the Church made the strategic choice to place the celebration of his birth on the same day as the return of the literal sun. This allowed for the spiritual light Christ to supplant the solar deity and repurpose the popular holiday for Christian worship. Saturnalia. This ancient Roman festival was held in honor of the god Saturn, god of agriculture, and ran from December 17th to 23rd. It provided the blueprint for many of the secular customs we associate with the holiday season. Roman Saturnalia custom. Feasting and revelry. Modern Christmas parallel. The tradition of large celebratory meals and general merriment during the holiday season. Role reversals. Masters serving slaves, and the election of a lord of misrule to lead chaos. This custom influenced the boisterous, carnival-like nature of medieval Christmases. Gift-giving. The Romans exchanged small gifts, especially wax candles and figurines sigularia, during the festival. Decorations. The use of evergreen boughs and garlands to decorate homes during the midwinter celebration. The combination of the Roman date for the unconquered sun and the festive customs of Saturnalia provided the Christian Church with the perfect cultural foundation upon which to build the religious and cultural phenomenon that became Christmas. The connection between Roman culture and Christmas is profound and primarily revolves around two key areas: the selection of the holiday's date and the customs adopted from Roman festivals. The date. Strategic selection. The most significant Roman connection is the fixed date of December 25th. The early Christian church in Rome deliberately chose this date, not because it was historically the day Jesus was born, but because of its importance in the Roman calendar. Sol Invictus. December 25th was the date of the Roman festival Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, birthday of the unconquered sun. This festival honored the sun god, Sol Invictus, and marked the point after the winter solstice when the sun began to return. The early church placed the birth of Jesus, the light of the world, on this same day. This strategic alignment allowed the church to easily integrate a new religious observance into a popular existing festival, essentially repurposing the Roman tradition for Christian worship. The customs, Saturnalia's legacy. Many of the secular, festive traditions associated with Christmas were inherited or influenced by the week-long Roman festival of Saturnalia, which ran from December 17th to 23rd. Roman custom, feasting and revelry, connection to Christmas. Saturnalia was a period of public merrymaking, gambling, and large feasts. This spirit of jovial celebration was absorbed into the Christian holiday season. Gift-giving. Romans exchanged small presents, particularly wax candles and small figurines, during Saturnalia. This practice later merged with the Christian celebration of St. Nicholas Santa Claus and the gifts of the Magi. Decorations. Romans decorated their homes with evergreen garlands and greenery during Saturnalia and the subsequent New Year's celebrations calends. Social inversion. During Saturnalia, social rules were temporarily suspended. Masters often served slaves. This contributed to the tradition of misrule and chaotic feasting that characterized Christmas celebrations throughout the Middle Ages. In short, the Roman Empire provided both the calendar date via Sol Invictus and the cultural template for feasting, gifts, and merrymaking via Saturnalia, which were essential in forming the holiday we celebrate today. The best way to celebrate Christmas is deeply personal and depends entirely on your own values, beliefs, and family traditions. There is no single correct way, as the holiday is a rich tapestry of religious history, ancient custom, and modern culture. However, the most satisfying way to celebrate often involves combining the traditional meaning with a focus on connection and giving. For a meaningful and traditional celebration, if you seek to focus on the traditional religious or sentimental meaning, these activities are essential. Reflect on the religious core, attend a service, participate in a Christmas Eve midnight mass or a Christmas Day service. This connects you to the primary religious origin of the holiday, the Nativity. Set up the Nativity. Display a nativity scene. Crochet. For families, a traditional activity is to place the baby Jesus figure in the manger only on Christmas morning, symbolizing the arrival of Christ. Read the story, read the gospel accounts of the Nativity. Luke 2 and Matthew 2 as a family on Christmas Eve or Christmas morning. Cultivate sentimental traditions. Advent countdown. Use an Advent calendar or an Advent wreath to intentionally focus on the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. Baking together. Engage in traditional holiday baking, like cookies or gingerbread houses, and share them with neighbors or friends. Caroling or music. Sing traditional Christmas carols, whether at home or by joining a caroling group. The music often reinforces the holiday's themes of peace and joy. For a connected and giving celebration, the best way for many people is through acts of generosity and time spent with others. Prioritize giving back. Volunteer as a family. Spend time volunteering at a local soup kitchen, food bank, or charity organization. Adopt a family or angel tree. Purchase gifts or essential items for a family or individual in need through a local charity program. Non-material gifts. Focus on gifts of time or experience, for example, a special outing, a home-cooked meal, or a promise of service rather than solely material goods. Simplify gift exchange. Consider drawing names for a secret Santa or adopting the 4-gift rule: something you want, something you need, something to wear, and something to read to reduce stress and consumption. Focus on presents, not presents. Create shared experiences. Organize a fun activity that fosters connection, such as a Christmas movie marathon, a festive game night, or a trip to see the local outdoor light displays. Start a new tradition. If old traditions feel stale, involve your family in creating a new, simple, and meaningful tradition, for example, a special Christmas morning breakfast, a family photo, or making personalized ornaments. For a low-stress and joyful celebration, sometimes the best way to celebrate is simply by reducing stress and focusing on genuine enjoyment. Set realistic boundaries, learn to say no. Declutter your calendar by politely declining invitations or obligations that don't genuinely bring you or your family joy. Focus on the few things you truly look forward to. Simplify decor. Don't feel pressured to have an elaborate home display. Focus on one or two decorations that hold sentimental value, like the tree or a specific collection. Delegate tasks. Share the burden of cooking, decorating, or cleaning with family members to ensure everyone gets to relax and enjoy the holiday. Embrace cozy comfort. Indulge in comfort. Dedicate a day to staying cozy indoors, enjoying hot cocoa, lighting a festive candle like a modern take on the Yule log, and listening to favorite music. Cook what you love. Don't feel obligated to make the traditional meal if your family prefers something simpler or non-traditional. The connection around the table is more important than the menu. Next step, to help you plan, what part of the holiday is most important to you this year? Faith, family connection, or giving back? The world celebrates Christmas for a diverse set of interconnected reasons that have evolved over to millennia, encompassing religious devotion, cultural tradition, and secular enjoyment. Religious significance. The primary reason for the celebration originates with Christianity. Commemoration of the Nativity. For over 2 billion Christians worldwide, Christmas is the commemoration of the birth of Jesus Christ, the Nativity. It is a central feast day celebrating the incarnation, the belief that God became human flesh. The name itself, Christmas, is derived from Christ's Mass. Theological importance. The birth of Jesus is seen as the beginning of the story of salvation and the arrival of the Redeemer, bringing themes of hope, peace, and light to humanity. Cultural and historical assimilation. The global adoption of Christmas stems from the historical merging of Christian liturgy with existing winter traditions. Pagan rites. Many traditions were adapted from ancient pagan winter solstice festivals like the Roman Saturnalia and Norse Yule. These festivals, celebrated around the shortest day of the year, focused on feasting, warmth, and the symbolism of light returning and life enduring, hence the use of evergreens. Strategic timing. By placing the celebration of Jesus, the light of the world, on December 25th, the Church was able to absorb popular Roman observances, such as the Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, birthday of the unconquered sun, making the transition to Christianity smoother for new converts. Modern secular meaning. Today, much of the holiday's global popularity is driven by its strong secular and cultural values. Family and fellowship. It is a time dedicated to family gatherings, travel, and strengthening bonds among relatives and friends. It serves as a major annual holiday focused on togetherness and domestic warmth. Generosity and goodwill. The practice of gift-giving, inspired by both the gifts of the Magi and the charitable legacy of St. Nicholas, Santa Claus emphasizes generosity, charity, and goodwill toward others. Economic and leisure break. For many countries, Christmas falls during the school and business year-end, providing a significant midwinter break that is globally recognized and celebrated with special food, decorations, and entertainment. In essence, the world celebrates Christmas because it offers a powerful combination of sacred devotion, deeply rooted tradition, and a universal focus on family, generosity, and hope. Today, we're diving into a question that pops up every year, sometimes sparking some pretty intense debates. Is it actually right to celebrate Christmas? For billions, it's a cherished time of joy, family, and faith. But for others, its origins and commercialization raise some serious questions. So, let's unpack this together, look at the different perspectives, and figure out what celebrating Christmas really means in today's world. First, let's tackle the big one, the historical roots. A common argument against Christmas is its connection to pagan festivals. It's true that December 25th wasn't officially declared Jesus' birthday until the 4th century by Pope Julius I. Before that, the Roman Empire celebrated Saturnalia around this time, a festival honoring the god Saturn. This was a week of feasting, gift-giving, and general merrymaking. There was also the celebration of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, which marked the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, and the symbolic rebirth of the sun. So, did the early church just co-opt these pagan holidays to make Christianity more appealing to converts? It's a popular theory, and there's definitely some overlap. Things like decorating with evergreen trees, holly, and mistletoe have roots in pagan traditions that celebrated life and fertility during the dead of winter. Yule logs, caroling, even the practice of feasting. Many of these customs predate the Christian celebration. For some Christians, this connection is a major problem. They argue that if you're participating in these traditions, you are unintentionally mixing pagan worship with Christian faith, which the Bible warns against. They believe the celebration has been corrupted from its source and that the most faithful approach is to abstain from it entirely, focusing instead on the core teachings of Jesus without the cultural baggage. It's a stance of purity, an attempt to worship in a way they see as uncompromised by worldly traditions. And you have to respect that dedication to their interpretation of Scripture. But there's another, equally passionate, Christian perspective. This view acknowledges the pagan roots but sees it as a story of redemption and transformation. They argued that the early church didn't just blindly absorb these traditions, they intentionally repurposed them. They took symbols that were once used to worship other gods and filled them with new, Christian meaning. The evergreen tree, once a symbol of life in winter, now represents eternal life through Christ. The lights that once celebrated the return of the sun now symbolize Jesus as the light of the world. From this viewpoint, it's not about paganism corrupting Christianity, but about Christianity conquering and redeeming paganism. It's a powerful statement of faith, showing that any part of culture, no matter its origin, can be claimed and used to glorify God. For these believers, celebrating Christmas is a testament to the transformative power of their faith, turning old traditions into a vibrant expression of their belief in Jesus' birth. It's not about where the traditions came from, but what they mean now. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the elephant in the room for many people, regardless of their faith: commercialism. It's hard to ignore. The moment Halloween is over, bam! Christmas music is everywhere, stores are decked out, and the pressure to buy is immense. Black Friday feels less like a fun shopping day and more like a competitive sport. For a holiday that's meant to be about peace and love, it can feel incredibly stressful, materialistic, and financially draining. Many people, both religious and secular, feel that the true meaning of Christmas has been buried under a mountain of consumer goods. It becomes a season of what am I getting, instead of what am I giving. And not just giving gifts, but giving time, kindness, and compassion. This critique says that corporations have hijacked the holiday, turning a sacred or meaningful season into a massive profit-generating machine. The focus shifts from connection and reflection to consumption and acquisition. It's easy to see why this would lead people to question whether it's right to participate in a system that feels so far removed from the original spirit. However, just like with the historical debate, there's a counter-argument. Is it possible to separate the spirit of Christmas from the commercial pressure? Absolutely. Many people are actively pushing back and reclaiming the holiday on their own terms. They focus on creating experiences rather than buying things. This looks like starting new family traditions, like a Christmas movie marathon, baking cookies together, or going out to see the holiday lights. It's about volunteering at a local shelter, donating to a food bank, or simply making a conscious effort to be kinder and more generous. And let's be honest, gift-giving isn't inherently bad. At its best, a gift is a physical expression of love and appreciation. The joy on someone's face when they open a thoughtful present is a real and beautiful thing. The challenge is to keep that spirit of generosity at the forefront, without getting swept up in the pressure to spend a certain amount of money or buy the perfect gift. It's about setting your own boundaries, deciding what's meaningful for you and your family, and focusing on connection over consumption. Many people find a healthy balance, enjoying the festive aspects while keeping their values front and center. This brings us to the modern, secular celebration of Christmas. For a huge number of people around the globe, Christmas has very little to do with religion at all. It's a cultural holiday, a time for family, food, and a general feeling of goodwill. They might love the Christmas tree, the songs, Santa Claus, and the whole festive atmosphere without ever thinking about Jesus' birth. Is it right for them to celebrate? Well, who gets to decide? For these individuals and families, Christmas is about tradition, nostalgia, and a shared cultural experience. It's about coming together with loved ones, creating happy memories for children, and enjoying a break from the routine of daily life. It's a season that emphasizes kindness, generosity, and peace on earth, values that are universal, not exclusive to any one religion. To say that only Christians can or should celebrate Christmas feels incredibly gatekeeped to many. Culture evolves, the meaning of holidays can expand and change over time. The secular celebration of Christmas is a perfect example of this. It has become a time for humanity to collectively pause and focus on the better parts of our nature: love, connection, and hope. It provides a sense of community and shared joy during the darkest, coldest time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, and that in itself is a beautiful and worthwhile thing. So, after looking at all these angles: the pagan roots, the Christian reinterpretation, the commercial pressures, and the secular celebration, what's the verdict? Is it right to celebrate Christmas? Ultimately, the answer isn't a simple yes or no. It's personal. The rightness of celebrating Christmas depends entirely on your own beliefs, values, and intentions. If you believe its origins are too compromised, it's perfectly valid to abstain. If you see it as a powerful story of religious redemption, it's a beautiful way to express your faith. If you're tired of the materialism, it's empowering to create your own traditions centered on connection and giving back. And if you simply love the festive spirit and the chance to connect with family, that's a wonderful reason to celebrate, too. There is no single, correct way to approach this season. Maybe the real spirit of Christmas isn't found in a specific tradition or belief, but in the values it encourages: love, generosity, and togetherness. It's about checking in with yourself and asking, what does this season mean to me? How can I observe it in a way that feels authentic, joyful, and true to my own values? Whether you're celebrating a holy day, a cultural festival, or simply enjoying a day off with people you love, what matters is the intention you bring to it. The question, why Christmas, can be answered by looking at the holiday's origin, which is a blend of religious observance and cultural tradition. Religious purpose: the foundational reason for Christmas is to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, the central figure of Christianity. Commemoration of the Nativity: for the world's 2 billion Christians, Christmas is the Christ's Mass, the original meaning of the word, dedicated to commemorating the Incarnation, the belief that God took human form as Jesus. Symbol of hope: the celebration emphasizes the themes of hope, peace, and light brought to the world through the Christ child, fulfilling ancient prophecies. Cultural and secular reasons: outside of religious faith, the holiday persists and is globally embraced for strong cultural and social reasons. Midwinter tradition: Christmas strategically falls near the winter solstice, continuing ancient traditions like the Roman Saturnalia and Norse Yule of holding a festival to celebrate the return of the sun and the end of the darkest time of the year. This provides a needed point of light and warmth during the cold season. Family and fellowship: it serves as a major annual holiday focused intensely on family gatherings, travel, and spending time with loved ones. It is a time for reconciliation and strengthening personal bonds. Generosity: the tradition of gift-giving promotes values of charity, kindness, and goodwill toward others, largely inspired by the gifts of the Magi and the charitable legend of St. Nicholas Santa Claus. Economic and social break: in many Western countries, the holiday aligns with the end of the calendar year, providing a significant and widely accepted period of rest, leisure, and economic activity. In short, Christmas is celebrated because it provides a universal and deeply entrenched cultural framework for worship, family gathering, and the expression of generosity during the midwinter period. Whether it is right to celebrate Christmas is a question that depends entirely on an individual's personal beliefs, religious convictions, and cultural context. There is no single universal answer, as different groups hold different views based on history, theology, and tradition. The religious perspective: why many Christians say yes. For the majority of the world's Christians, celebrating Christmas is not only right but a sacred and necessary act. Commemoration of Christ's birth: the holiday's fundamental purpose is to commemorate the Incarnation, the core Christian belief that God became human in Jesus Christ. This is viewed as the beginning of salvation history. Theological joy: it is a time to express joy, hope, and gratitude for God's love and the arrival of the Redeemer. Historical acceptance: the celebration was established by the early Church in the 4th century and has been affirmed by major Christian denominations, Catholic, Orthodox, and most Protestant churches for over 1,600 years. The historical or theological debate: why some Christians say no. Historically, some Christians have rejected or discouraged the celebration based on two main arguments. Pagan roots: critics argue that Christmas is too closely tied to its pagan origins like Saturnalia and Sol Invictus, making it an impure or syncretistic celebration. Biblical silence. There is no specific command in the Bible to celebrate Jesus' birthday, and the date December 25th is not historically accurate. Historically, the Puritans in the 17th century famously banned the celebration for these reasons, viewing it as a distraction and too worldly. Focus on the cross. Some denominations today, such as Jehovah's Witnesses and some fundamentalist groups, do not observe Christmas, arguing that the Bible emphasizes the importance of the Eucharist, Last Supper, and the resurrection, Easter, over the birth, and thus its focus should be minimized. The cultural or secular view. Why many non-Christians say yes. For many people globally, Christmas has transcended its religious roots to become a cultural and secular phenomenon. Universal values. The holiday is celebrated as a time to promote peace, generosity, and goodwill toward others. Family and tradition. It serves as a crucial annual holiday for family gathering, bonding, and fellowship. The customs of gift-giving, decorating, and feasting are enjoyed purely for their cultural and social value. Midwinter respite. It provides a major midwinter break and a psychological focal point of light and hope during the darkest part of the year. Ultimately, the choice to celebrate Christmas is a matter of conscience and personal tradition. If one's belief system affirms the value of commemorating the Nativity, promoting universal goodwill, or participating in familial and cultural traditions, then celebrating Christmas is generally considered right for them. If one holds theological objections to the date or the pagan roots, then abstaining is the right choice based on their convictions. The date of the birth of Jesus is not stated in the Gospels or in any historical sources, and the evidence is too incomplete to allow for consistent dating. However, most biblical scholars and ancient historians believe that his birth date is around 6204 BC. Two main approaches have been used to estimate the year of the birth of Jesus, one based on the accounts in the Gospels of his birth with reference to King Herod's reign, and the other by subtracting his stated age of about 30 years when he began preaching. So, whatever you choose to do, I hope you find peace, joy, and meaningful connection. What are your thoughts on this? How do you and your family celebrate, or not celebrate, and why? We would genuinely love to read your perspectives in the comments below. Let's have a thoughtful and respectful conversation. Thanks so much for watching from Flourish Inspired. We'll see you in the next video.